Deathwatch.
Our story begins in Bennington County, Vermont, where folks say that the heart of darkness lies in the heart of the wood, specifically the woods surrounding the Green Mountain Range. You guys are each going to play a member of the Jenkins clan, which is a big family in Vermont. What do we got? Chris, who are you playing?
I'm playing Phil Jenkins, the youngest of the brood, I guess you could call him.
And then we got Brandon, you're playing Chuck, is that right?
Chuck Jenkins, yeah, the middle child.
And then Justin, you're playing the eldest.
Howard Jenkins, yes.
All right, so the Jenkins are an old family. They've been here, since colonial days. And you're pretty spread out. Like, there are other Jenkinses in Vermont. And you guys don't usually associate with them because they'll be distant cousins. In fact, the sheriff of Bennington County is a Jenkins. He's a first cousin, I believe, meaning he's your father's cousin. So, he knows you guys because you're around the town and whatnot. But anyhow, so folks whisper about the woods, about spooky things going on in the woods. However, you guys have lived in that area most of your life, and you're not really afraid of any spooks, although you've had your individual experiences, perhaps. Our story deals with the real heart of darkness, which is the heart of man. And then this morning, when you woke up, the streets of Bennington were buzzing with news and gossip about a gunfight that occurred on the edge of town last night. There's talk of police cars, sirens, shotgun blasts, and escaped criminals. The locals are saying that 3 gangsters were killed and 2 police officers were shot. Some say wounded, others say dead. Posters are going up across town saying that the sheriff is organizing a manhunt to find the gangsters and Lucas Strong's missing daughter. In fact, Howard, you were in town this morning and you saw a poster with a picture of Jane Strong and a reward offering $5,000 to anybody who could find her. So our lens will focus on the Bennington County Sheriff's Office in their briefing room, where you guys have all gathered, and you see Sheriff Jenkins up front there. I think you guys have a handout if you want to look at that and open it. It should be player handout briefing.
Yeah.
So you see Sheriff Jenkins. He's pretty tall and thin. He looks somewhat similar to you guys, but he's not as filled out. And sitting next to him to his left is Mr. Lucas Strong, who is an area industrials and rich fella. So there's smoke filling this room, and all the locals are crowded in here, including you guys. In fact, you make quite the murmur run through the crowd when you come in, because the Jenkins boys are not often seen in town or together at that. And so let's get a character description here. Do you have a good idea of what Chuck looks like, Brandon?
Yeah, so Chuck is probably, I'd say, 6'4", and he's got long black hair that he tries but doesn't succeed at keeping very clean, so it's got that oily look to it. And his face is pretty scarred up from a bear attack when he was younger, so he generally tries to wear his hair free so some of it can cover his face, and he likes to keep his head down so he doesn't see people staring at him, because they do stare at him, and it makes him uncomfortable. So he tries to hide it with his hair a little bit and keeping his head down. And then he'd just be wearing the clothes of the time that look like they should have been replaced the year before.
Right.
But I'd guess he'd still have pretty decent boots. And
do you have your axe slung over your shoulder?
well, no, I probably wouldn't bring it into town, but I would have a hatchet on my belt.
Okay.
And my Bowie knife too. So.
All right. And standing next to Chuck is his younger brother, Phil.
let's see, probably a similar height, probably about 6'3" or so. Black hair. I think he's been trying to grow a scraggly beard to kind of make himself seem older than he is. Bib overalls that are highly patched, most likely with whatever type of tanning or animal skins that he can find. And the rest, like if it's colder out, probably like fur type, almost ponchos or something. I don't know. He seems to be pretty down and out when it comes to.
Yeah, you two have that look of, perpetual bronze tan from being outdoors a lot and just rough sleeping, a lot of rough nights.
Yeah, I figure he probably goes most places he can barefoot, and usually has his well-worn, used corncob pipe sticking out between some probably pretty unhealthy-looking teeth. Just always kind of smoking. He's got his gun with him in most situations.
Right. And that nobody makes any noise about that because a lot of people, due to the nature of these posters, are actually at this briefing with guns and ready to posse up. And
because of how he makes his living, usually harvesting various animals in the woods, I figure he probably just goes from the woods right into town. So standing
next to those two is the oldest Jenkins brother, who you can see the resemblance, but I'll let Justin take it. Howard Jenkins. So.
Yeah, as humble and wild as these two look, I am the exact opposite. The picture of civility in a three-piece suit, clean shaven, hair combed just perfectly, with my leather briefcase at my side and a pocket watch chain hanging out of my pocket. Standing as straight and proper as I possibly can, and I step in and kind of eye the room, a little bit comfortable with the whole courtroom scene.
Yeah, because you have, all the townsfolk gathered ahead of you, and they're murmuring amongst each other. You have a deputy there fielding questions, but it's a mess of locals shouting out different things. And Sheriff Jenkins is leaning over to listen to whatever Mr. Strong is saying to him. What else? You hear a lot of in the murmur. You hear like an old man say, I heard it was that Harris boy and his fellas what got shot up. So that's some of what you hear in the murmur. But Sheriff Jenkins, he turns around to face the crowd and he's like, all right, everybody listen up. Can we get some quiet in here? All right, settle down. I'll answer your questions at the end. So you guys probably heard what happened last night. And yeah, some people shout out. They're like, yeah, it was a shootout. It was that Harris boy, wasn't it? Says, yes, Sidney Harris and his gang kidnapped Jane Strong about 3 days ago. We were trying to keep it on the down low, not to cause a stir. And we'd arranged an exchange, ransom money for the girl. It was during this exchange that things went wrong. It all seemed to be going smoothly, but one of Harris's men got twitchy, fired off a shot, and it all went to hell from that point on. As you may have heard, two of my deputies were wounded. One is in a pretty bad way. We're hoping he'll make it through. Your thoughts and prayers would be appreciated. The other one's doing fine. We managed to kill 3 of Harris's men, but he made off with another who we believe is wounded, and they made off with Jane, and they made off with the ransom money. Now we think they fled back in the forest. I'm sure many of you know, although you ought not know, that he has a still out there where he does his brewing of moonshine. We think he may have head out that way to a hideout they got out there. We're not sure. The idea is we're going to get as many people out in those woods as we can, and we're going to create a kind of noose and close in on his location. At that point, Mr. Strong is, he stands up and he red-faced. You can see he's a heavy-set man, living high off the hog there, eating well. And he's like, I'm offering $25 a day to anybody that joins in this search. $25 a day, cold, hard cash. And I would count it as a personal favor if you were to bring the corpse of Mr. Harris to my feet. And Sheriff Jenkins is like, "Oh, hold on there. We still have to observe the laws. You guys are not being deputized. So remember, if you shoot somebody and you kill somebody, there's going to be an investigation into it. And if we find anything wrong, you will be charged. We would prefer it if you brought Harris back alive." And Mr. Strong's like, no, I want him dead. $5,000 who brings my daughter back to me. And you bring Harris back to me dead. Jenkins is like, that's enough, Mr. Strong. Why don't you have a seat? So, do any of you folks have questions?
I don't.
I'll ask the sheriff. If we're not being deputized, what rights do we have to go and take them off their land?
It's not their land. That's the public land out there.
All right.
They're just hiding in it.
What actions are we granted, and will we not be culpable of should we run into trouble out there?
Well, considering the eyewitnesses that point Mr. Harris as the fellow, the perpetrator here, you can make a citizen's arrest. If he takes any violent action against you, you can defend yourself just as any man could in any situation. But we ask that we're not out here trying to get some frontier justice going on. So don't go out there shooting first. Harris hasn't been violent in the past. This is a new thing for him. Most of you guys know this. I should say he hasn't killed anybody. Yeah, he did. He looked at you, Chuck, and he remembered that instance you had with the Harris gang. And
Yeah.
he says they're a little rough around the edges, I know, and they cause some trouble, but they haven't caused this sort of trouble. So this is a new thing. We want to get to the bottom of it. Ever since we made the alcohol illegal, it's been bringing in some real trouble. You know, some real hard characters have been getting into those operations, and we think that's what's happening here. So there might be somebody pulling the strings behind the scenes here with Harris. Anything else?
What area of the forest is it suspected he has this still?
So it's somewhere out in the miles and miles of forest around the Green Mountain. You guys are familiar with it. We think he goes a little deeper than most folk go. So what we're going to do is we're going to section you all, anybody who wants to do this, into groups, and we're going to set you at different points in the forest, and we're going to close in around those lakes up by Somerset, and hopefully we'll catch them. You shouldn't be able to get by, you guys, with as many people as we got here willing to do this. So if there's nothing else, I can just have you guys write your names in the logbook, and we're going to give you guys a couple hours to go get the gear, because you need to plan on 2 or 3, maybe even 4 days out here in the wilderness. It's a big stretch of land. You guys know it. It goes up and it goes down, and it's thick, and it really slows you down. You're not going to be making much more than 4 or 5 miles in a day. All right, come on up here, mark your names. We'll meet in the town square in 2 hours. That's 12 noon.
Yeah, well, I'll immediately go mark my name. I mean, $25 a day, it's not even a question.
Yeah, I'll put a...
I'm making 2 a day.
I'll put a big X on the log sheet.
Is that to allude to the fact that you might be...
I'm illiterate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll sign my name.
Yeah, I mean, you guys would have different motivations for doing it, but obviously for the ones staying at home, you know, your family's not in a good way as far as money goes. And all right, so you guys mark your name, and you go out into Bennington. So there's one store in Bennington, and that's Arthur J. Spence's hardware store. It's just right there on the main street if you want to buy supplies.
What's the name of the store?
Arthur J. Spence's.
So I'm going to need a change of clothes.
Okay.
Going tromping around through the mountains in a 3-piece suit's not conducive.
Right.
Yeah, so what we'll do there is we'll just do the same thing. You can write down 2 or 3 items you might want to get just quickly off the top of your head, and then we'll deal with it. Like if there's a situation where you need a rope and you didn't think of it, then we'll just deal with it with luck rolls or something like that. If it's something you obviously would have taken but it just got overlooked because of the time frame, then you'll probably have it, like food or something.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll take these guys in. I'll kind of look over their clothes and say, let me get you some new clothes as well.
Yeah.
Nah, that's all right. You don't worry about that.
Yeah, I'll take some new clothes.
Yeah, so
sure.
everybody that was at this briefing room is now at Arthur J. Spence's hardware store, and they're all in there, grabbing sometimes unnecessary amounts of things. So things are starting to get depleted very quickly. So yeah, you guys make that note. One old fella says you all want to take beeswax because it keeps the spooks away. They don't like beeswax. You rub it on your forehead.
Sounds like a good idea to me. I'll make sure to grab some. Well, I've heard weird things out in that forest. One time I heard a war drum being pounded on out there when I was alone, and there was nobody nearby.
I'll bet you did. The Abenaki used to live out there. When I was fishing when I was a boy, this is a random store shopper, I saw a native standing out there across the lake. But they'd all been moved off, years ago. They're not in the area anymore. He was just standing there looking at me. I think it was a ghost, a specter.
Well, I believe it, so I'm going to get some beeswax, and then I'll need a backpack, like a satchel or something.
Okay.
A backpack.
Yeah, just note them on your character sheet. Just 2 or 3 items. Yeah, they say that it's they got some sacred land out there, an old burial ground, something of that.
Yep.
That's in the heart of the forest, so if that's where Harris's path leads you, you don't want to go in there. Hey, is that Howard Jenkins over there?
Well, yes, it is.
I haven't seen you in been a few years now.
Yeah, I had a little bit of a disagreement with my father and haven't been back in a little while.
Yeah, Shannon is a hard man to get along with, that's for sure. Is he doing well?
I don't know. I came back to bear the hatchet with the old man, and God willing, get along better.
So yeah, you've been back for not very long now. Enough time to get acquainted with them, but you've taken a room in town rather than, a mat on the floor in their already small establishment.
Yeah.
All right, so you guys gather whatever gear you think appropriate, and you gather with the other folks that signed up to find Sidney Harris and Jane Strong in the town square. And Sheriff Jenkins and the deputies go about sort of sorting people into groups, and sheriff actually sorts you guys into a group, and he says, well, I'm going to set you boys right where this gunfight happened, because I think you're the best shot we got at finding Sidney Harris and Jane Strong, because you know those woods like no other. And I know you could use the money, so I'm rooting for you. I hope you find them. Just remember, please bring Mr. Harris back alive, and please find the girl. Very important. So he gets everybody sorted, and then he motions to you guys to get into the bed of it's like a Model T pickup variety. So you guys sitting there. There's not much room in a pickup from that era, so the 3 of you pretty much crowd up the back of that. Mm-hmm. And he drives you a little ways out of town. I will mark about how far this shootout happened. So you guys should have seen that 2 pop up there. Mm-hmm. That's about how far out of Bennington that shootout happened. And it's in a part of the forest that was cleared. And it looks like they were going to do some more cutting, but all the logging stalled out when Mr. Lucas fired all his logging people. And he's invested heavily into building a new reservoir somewhere up north. And in your case, Chuck, you were part of one of those logging crews, and you just didn't have the skills that transferred over to doing the kind of work he was looking for.
Right.
So he brings you to this clearing, and you can immediately see the evidence of this shootout. Like, there are shell casings everywhere. You got shotgun shells and from rifles, pistols, just littering the grounds. Whatever happened here was a bunch of gunfire. You even see a pretty big blood pattern. You would guess, well, actually, Sheriff Jenkins is like, that's where the deputy got gunned down right there. Here, follow me. I'll show you where Sidney and that man he was with ran off into the forest. And he shows you the difference. You can see these are lower caliber shells there from like the pistols they were firing. And you can see some blood splatter there. And Sheriff Jenkins says, I think we got one of them. One of my deputies winged, not Harris, but the other man he was with a shotgun, but it was at distance. But you can see he's bleeding a little bit there. And they headed off this way. You know, I don't have the abilities you do. Why don't you guys take a look at the area and maybe you can pick up on their trail right here. So I get a spot hidden from everybody. And I think, Phil, you're the tracker, right?
I have pretty good tracking.
Yeah, so you can roll out a track instead of spot hidden.
All right. What is it?
Okay, yeah, so if you guys fail a roll, you can always push, which means it gives you the opportunity to roll again. But it also gives the keeper license to try to make your guys' life more miserable.
Yeah, but I also got to think of like how I'm justifying the push, right? I'm trying to figure out how to do that with tracking here. I don't know. You got any ideas?
Yeah, well, it's hard to pick out because the deputies went over this ground after the shootout, but you do see 2 potential trails, and it gets murky from that point. So if you pick the wrong one and you fail your push roll, then we'll see what happens.
So what, did mine not roll?
I see Howard and I see Phil. I don't see you, Chuck.
So how do I roll it then? Am I missing something?
Just click on the skill.
Take yourself out of edit mode too.
Oh, I see. Okay, that makes sense.
So yeah, it's just, for all of you, it's just such a mess. I mean, you can see where he pointed out to the blood, but as far as tracing it from there to the forest, Sheriff Jenkins says, well, if you guys don't see anything, then just stick to the plan. I'm going to shoot you guys northeast. Just make for those lakes up there by Somerset. If you find something along the way, great. But if not, that should still work. Did you want to try to push that?
Yeah.
So,
or I can use luck too, right?
Yeah, you spend it on the 1-per-1 basis, so that would be
20.
20 luck, yeah.
I think we'll save it. I think I'll try to push. I'll like kind of let out a whistle, and you guys sure made a right mess.
Okay, go ahead and whisper it to me. That way, if you get a failure, only you and I will know.
Okay.
And you'll just have to not metagame.
So how would I go about whisper? Is it the option? Whisper to keeper?
At the top of the one.
Okay. All right. So but I think I'll try my hand at it, Sheriff. If you don't see us from a day or so, you figure we probably got off the trail.
All right. Good luck, boys. You got everything you need? Okay.
Yeah, now I have my axe.
Now you have it.
The big one, yeah.
You wouldn't happen to come across any shine when that shootout was happening.
He pulls this flask from, this is my personal stash. Here you go.
Thank you, cousin.
And he hops in the pickup, drives off. Now, Chris, you actually picked one of those 2 trails, and you think you got on the right path because you found some more indication of blood loss as it reached the edge of the woods.
Does it seem like it's actually pretty decent bleed going on, or is it more superficial?
It seems more superficial. Yeah. Like nothing that's not going to stop up after a while.
Yeah, they grazed him. He ain't going to die no time soon, unless the good Lord decide to strike him.
All right, so this forest that you guys go into, what you're looking at is, this is like a hardwood type forest. So you're looking at maples, red oak, and the like. And that path pretty quickly goes along. It runs parallel to a stream that feeds into the Wallamack River. And it's just running right along that. And this is in a sort of a ravine. You can see 2 ridges up to your left and your right. And those trees just sort of tower over you. So after you guys travel for a couple of hours, you go ahead and make another spot hidden track for me. You only have to succeed on 1.
So you want both spot hidden and track, or just
roll what you're best at?
Okay.
Everyone, or just?
Yeah. So in your case, I think you're better at spot hidden
By far.
Yeah. All right. So, Phil, you all come across and see that there were some bandages. They stopped here for a minute, changed out bandages, and they're discarded on the ground by the stream. Now, you're certain that their path continues along this stream.
Yeah.
You spot some blood splatter up this ridge a short ways as you circle around it.
Okay. I'm going to be investigating that.
Okay.
And as Phil starts heading further upstream, I'll call him over and ask him what he makes of this.
We ain't got no time for lollygagging. They went right up this stream right here. I mean, just plain sense here.
I just found more blood up this way. They may have cut off.
I'll look at him sideways. Give him a...
I may be a city folk these days, but that don't get rid of the training that Pa gave us.
So that fumble you got on there, I'm going to say in your mind, you're certain. And like Howard may be your brother, but he's been in Boston for the last few years. Like, what is he talking about?
Yeah.
You know?
So I'm going to kind of like placate him. Like I'll go up there and kind of look around and, but it's not really like seeing anything type of thing, right? I've already dismissed what he said.
Chuck, how about you? What do you think?
Well, I think Phil knows what he's about. So I think we ought to just follow him.
All right.
Maybe someone come up here and sat down for a bit and then went the direction Phil thinks they went.
All right. I'll trust you.
All right. So you guys,
That's a hard success on him. Would you? Are you the type of guy that would just let that go?
On something like this, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
all right. So you guys proceed along the stream, and about an hour later, the trail you thought you were following, it's just not making sense anymore. It's not, and you realize perhaps maybe you made an error. But I'll go ahead and get another spot hidden from everybody.
Spot hidden or track?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just spot hidden. Sorry about that. How do we do again? Oh, by the way, if you succeeded at any of that, don't forget to make the little mark by your...
Does pushing count for success?
Yes, I believe so. It's only luck that doesn't. If you spend luck, you don't get a check.
You marked a little bubble?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I've never succeeded in anything. So.
And that's why you make $2 a day.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's the system that's keeping me down.
All right, so it's fairly silent there, Phil, but you see a buck making its way down that ridge towards this stream, but it's moving fast like something spooked it.
Yeah, I'll kind of hunker down.
Okay.
And motion them to do the same. And guess wait and see. Maybe maybe do some listens or something. Or,
Yeah, go ahead and make a listen roll, everybody. Howard, that's his 75.
Yeah.
Chuck and Howard, you guys both hear the sounds of wood breaking, twig snapping, and from up on the ridgeline to your guys' left. You don't see anything yet, but you hear it. Sounds like people approaching, because animals, Chuck, you're more familiar with it, don't usually make that type of sound when they're moving through it.
Yeah.
So we'll get a spot hidden, but I'm going to need a hard from you, Phil. It's a hard spot hidden for you. All right, Howard. So up on that ridge where that sound drew your attention, you see the shapes of two people come into view. It looks like a man and a boy. What do you do?
I'll quietly kind of nudge my brothers and point out directly to where they are.
I'll say him pointing it out makes it obvious. You see a man and a boy standing up there on the ridge. They've stopped now.
Do they look like they have weapons on them? Or?
Yes, you see rifles.
Okay.
So they're probably just out hunting.
Well, just be safe. One of you want to cover me while I go talk to them?
Do they have like, any sort of hunting attire on, or I guess they wouldn't.
Not
Right.
this period.
Yeah. They don't wear hunter's orange or anything like that.
Well, are there any young children in the Harris gang?
The problem is the distance and the foliage is kind of messing up your ability to pick out those sorts of details.
Well, I say we just get a little bit closer. Ain't no reason to be all distrusting. I mean, these woods are probably about as filled as they ever do get.
Yeah.
All right.
I say we just call out to them.
Yeah.
Do we recognize them?
Like I said, it's tough to figure out who they are.
Well, I can sneak up and get a better look if y'all want me to.
All right.
All right.
All right, go ahead and make your stealth roll. Yeah, so for you two watching, you see Chuck just sort of, kind of disappear into that undergrowth there, and he's not making like any noise. It's somewhat alarming. I think he's actually, what's your stealth?
60.
Same.
So yeah, you guys you spent all your childhood, all your adult life just moving through those woods. So it's something to behold, Howard. But I'm going to need a group luck roll, and you're going to do it, Howard, because you got the lowest luck. So you're going to roll for the group.
All right.
Okay. So I'm going to say you see it. You both see it coming since you're watching it, and you went out of the field of vision, is that they see some movement down by the stream, and you pick up on one of them start to shoulder their rifle, only you see that the barrel is pointing in your guys' direction. So, if you want, you can throw yourself to the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so go ahead and make a dodge roll for me.
I know that there was that deer that we saw, but
Oh, come on.
this is going to be sad.
I think I'll 9 luck it.
Okay.
Right. I just have to equal it? Or
Yeah, you just have to spend 9. You just have to mean it.
All right. So, yeah, I'll do that and make that a success.
All right, so yeah, you hear you hear this deep, Howard, you hear this deep, deep buzzing sound in your right ear, and then you hear a gunshot like a split second later, so it's like, right? And then you feel this scorching burn across the right side of your hair, and you take 1d3 damage. All right, Phil, I'll give you the action. What do you want to do? 3 damage.
Oh, ouch.
I'll stand up and I'll shoulder my rifle.
Okay.
But I'll shout, you best cease that immediately.
All right, so you hear a curse, and then, oh, my dear Lord, I'm sorry. We were on the trail of deer. You guys all right down there?
No, I ain't all right. I've been shot.
So, yeah, you can see it's a nice deep furrow, but it managed to avoid any of the bone. It just clipped him along the side. But it's bleeding pretty heavy there. So, Chuck, you were sneaking up there. You heard them shout out.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Well, is there something that I can have to determine if I believe they're sorry?
Yeah, go ahead and roll your psychology.
All right. Well, I'll continue sneaking up towards them.
All right.
And I want to get in range to throw my hatchet.
I should note that you notice a funny accent, and you have no problem getting into range to throw your hatchet.
Oh, so they're out of towners then.
Right.
Okay.
Howard, you recognize it as a Boston accent.
All right.
So yeah, they come crashing down this ridge. What did you want to do, Howard?
I want to tend to my wound.
Okay. Yeah, so it'll need, it's hard for you to see, so...
Who's got good first aid?
I got a 30.
I got a 34.
I got a 30.
Yeah, so I mean, if I
when you
believe
get
that.
back to it.
Yeah, I mean, once they start heading down, then I'll.
For now, you're just holding
Yeah.
that furrow, and it's starting to bleed down your arm.
Yeah, I was going to try and find a piece of cloth or shirt or something that I could get some pressure on it.
Yeah. So are you still sneaking or are you coming back? How's that?
No, I'll just come back now that they're rushing down towards you guys.
All right, Phil. Yeah, they're coming down that ridge, and they got their rifles up in the air. They're not pointing them at you anymore. And the man, you can see. Well, here's what you pick up just on seeing them first off: is their clothes are all new, outdoorsy type clothes.
Yeah.
So you get that impression that they just bought them and they're out here,
Just like me.
right? It doesn't have that experience to it. The boots aren't broken in or anything like that. But they're crashing down this, and he looks, as far as you can tell, mortified at what happened. But yeah, he's approaching you. So I'll give you whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I was thinking about punching him, but he seems fairly repentant as far as his own attitude is. But
in fact, when he gets close, because he was sort of squinting coming down that hill at you guys, when he gets closer, he makes you out a little bit better. He's like, "Son, I thought you said that was the deer." And the boy, on the other hand, he's like,
yeah,
shaking.
Visibly shaking.
He's like, sorry, mister. Are you okay?
No, I ain't all right.
I told you I didn't want to do this, Dad.
you folks sure picked a hell of a time to come down here. We got murderers loose.
Murderers?
Yeah, we're scouring this forest right now.
Oh, dear Lord. I didn't know. We came from Somerset. We didn't know.
That's fine. I don't care where y'all came from, but I suggest you maybe start heading back that way.
What kind of rifles do they have?
So yeah, they're carrying some older Springfields.
All right, so I'll get to Howard and I want to do my first aid, right?
Where on the map is Somerset?
Let me pop that up for you. Go ahead and make your first aid roll, Brandon.
Is that the little white dot?
Oh, man.
You rubbing some dirt on it?
Mm-hmm.
Coach did that to me one time.
Yep. Yeah, same here.
So they were coming from, it should have popped up on the map. Did you see it there,
Okay,
Howard?
yeah.
And you reckon...
Oh, they've come quite a ways from there.
Yeah, they say, we've been in the woods 3 days now. Hey, we actually came here with two other, my good friend Brian Hall and his son. We're both trying to teach our boys how to hunt, but we left them because, George here, he wasn't really taken to the woods. He's complaining about nightmares, you know how boys are. I think he just doesn't want to be here. But anyhow, if you see my friend, his name's Brian Hall. You can't miss him. He's wearing a big Texan-style cowboy hat. Just let him know what's going on. We ran into some artists up from the University of Boston. They were here on a field trip, painting landscapes and dumb stuff like that. And that's where we split ways. So that's just up, I don't know, maybe 2 days, a day, northeast from here. So if you could let him know. I'm so sorry about the shot to the head there, mister.
You're lucky it wasn't just a little bit farther to the left.
Don't I know it?
Well, my brother here that you shot is a lawyer, and so imagine he'll probably be suing you.
No, there's no, here, let me, and he starts digging through his pocket.
Well, we don't want your money, but seeing as how you ain't any good with it, maybe my brother just hang on to that rifle for you.
Oh, yeah, sure thing. There's no reason to bring the law into this. He's 14, he's not totally accountable yet. It was a mistake. My eyesight's not good.
I'll say, no, Chuck, that ain't necessary.
All right, fine.
Well, no, I insist now. And he gets his billfold out and he gets a couple $20 bills out and he gives them to you since you were the...
I'll say, I don't need any of that, but if you got any bandages or anything else in there with you, and you may want to be heading on further southwest to Bennington, that's going to be a safer route for you.
We'll do just that, sir. No doubt about it. And he's like, yeah, I think I got something for you guys. And he puts his pack down and he digs out an old first aid kit. So it has some alcohol and bandages and whatnot in there. And those little, what do they call those things?
Tweezers?
Keep the bandages together.
Oh,
The butterfly.
The butterfly, yeah.
So, what does that do for us?
I'll allow you to hit that to do a bonus on your first aid there.
Okay.
Add 1 bonus dice to that.
Is it technically a push or?
No.
Not quite.
All right, yeah, you're just not too sure. You can try to push it if you like. That's up to you. Or the other way it can be retried is somebody else can, maybe Phil thinks a little higher of his abilities or something. He'll shoulder in there.
I can't even see it, so I'm not going to try.
Right.
So that makes me 2 short. Can I use luck for that?
So it looks like your original roll was better than the bonus one because that would have changed your 41 into a 51. That's how it works. It's replacing the 10, or it's giving you another 10 roll. Does that make sense? So you would have to spend, 7 of your luck to make that a success?
Okay.
Which you could do if you want.
What would the consequence be if you didn't?
Yeah, I mean, what happens if you...
So the first aid is just going to get you a hit point back real quick. And if a wound were, bleeding with no signs of it being able to slow on its own, then that would include stopping that. If you were dying, that would stabilize you. Yeah. So in this case, it's deep, but it's not going to bleed out. It'll probably
scab over.
Yeah.
All right, well, you're fine.
Just wrap my head in a bandage and
keep
moving.
All right, so you folks say Bennington's just that away?
Yeah, I'll point down the stream and say just follow the river. When it branches, take a right.
Okay, thank you. I'm so sorry about that.
Am I to the point where I know that I've messed up on my tracking, or am I still convinced?
Yeah, you've been thinking about it. It's just up to you when you might be willing to admit to that, I guess.
I think we'll go back with you about halfway or so. Make sure that you don't shoot none of our neighbors. But I'll walk back. I'll suggest we walk back with them, and then once we hit that point where Harris, what's your name?
Yeah.
No, it isn't.
That's Howard.
Where Howard found that trail, as I'm guessing he was probably right, and I ain't ever going to tell him.
Right. But well, Chuck, our lens sort of focuses on you, and we get a glimpse at your thoughts. What do you think about backtracking maybe an hour to see these guys off?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea because these city boys just shoot at whatever they see, apparently.
Right.
And, I'm not in that big of a hurry, so.
Yeah.
I'll go.
I mean, each day we take.
That's true.
But yeah, I imagine I've seen guys like this, out-of-towners hunting like this before.
Yeah, you get a lot of it up in the area.
Yeah, they're wildly unsafe, so I don't mind escorting them back a bit because there's too many people out here for them to be, pulling off brush shots like that.
Right.
I kind of want to take the opportunity to teach the kid as well.
What do you want to teach him?
Teach him how to properly aim and shoot. And although he did have a pretty good shot.
Better serve teaching him the difference between a man and a deer.
Yeah, I'll say you can do, even with the bare minimum rifle skill, you'll have the set of gun safety rules that have been passed down father to son for generations. So you just reiterate that. And this man, Alistair, as he introduced himself, is all like, yeah, see, that's what I told you, son. That's what you have to do. Anyhow, so yeah, you guys take them back a pace, and you get to that spot where you felt like you went wrong. Phil, is that where you're gonna cut them loose?
Yeah, I'll give them some basic directions to from here, but we got tracking to do. We got to try to catch that horrible, vile criminal.
All right, so it's probably where Howard saw that blood. So how are you going to get these guys to go on this new path up on that ridge, to travel up on that ridge instead of down where?
As we're traveling, I did want to ask the kid about his nightmares.
Oh,
and of course tell him to, shake off. I'll be fine. Just make sure you're...
Yeah, now he's got a whole other set of nightmares.
He says, I can't really remember it, honestly. I just know they're bad, and they would wake me up in the middle of the night. The only thing I can remember is that I was drowning. My dad was having them too, the same things, drowning,
You always have these dreams?
No, just since we came hunting. It started 3 days ago, the first night we were here.
These woods do strange things to a man's mind.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, being out in the wilderness all by yourself.
He don't know what he means by that. He ain't been in here in years.
That don't change my childhood. I grew up in these lands just as much as you did.
Ain't nothing strange about these forests.
Show them these out-of-towners a good old-fashioned Jenkins disagreement brawl. All right, yeah, so that's what he says, and he said his dad was having them too. I said, yeah, same exact thing. We were dreaming about drowning. And he's like, no, if he hears that, he's like, I was having bad dreams, but just the regular sort bad dreams. No drowning. You can make a psychology roll for that. And since you were there, we'll say you can throw one out as well.
Yeah, my psychology is just right up there.
That was close, though.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't see your 60 versus 40.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you take them at face value. I should say, there's a metagame aspect that comes into this when the keeper's called for a roll, but but you failed on it. Is basically you still have your gut instinct, right? That's what made you kind of scrutinize the situation in the first place. So what he said just triggered you in a way, as like he was lying, but you can't determine one way or the other. It could just be he talks funny. So,
well, he's from the city. They all a bunch of liars. So.
That's where all the liars end up. All right, so yeah, you. Sorry, I can't remember. What were your reasonings for getting them up on the ridge line?
Oh, I'm not going to give a reason. I'm going to go right to the spot.
Okay.
Pretend that I have never seen Howard, essentially.
Right.
That I don't know who he is, and just start tracking or attempting to track from where he pointed out.
All right, yeah, so you find it, and sure enough, you can see the movement through the brush. And when you get up to the apex of the ridge and the brush is a little thicker up there, you can actually see they were chopping through it with some large bladed, like a machete or something to that effect. But yeah, it puts you up on top of this ridge. So, yeah, that's what Phil decides to do. He leads you guys up to the ridge rather than going down the stream. And when you get up there, the trees thin out a little bit, and occasionally you start seeing some evergreens, spruces. So their boughs come down real flat to the ground. They're real close to the ground, like that standard sort of Christmas tree. They're sort of a new growth because there was a lot of logging in this area. And you go along that ridge line for a few hours, and it's when it's getting close to stopping time in the forest, because you don't have as much sunlight when you're out on flatland as when you're in the woods, and it becomes really difficult to move around in. You guys come across an old trapper's lodge situated between two red oaks. It's probably from the early 1800s by the look of the wood. We'll give... That's an interesting question. How do you guys travel? You want to stick to single file, or are you sort of spread out in a line like you're hunting or searching for something on the ground?
Oh, I'd probably figure the spread out hunting type stuff.
Yeah, where the terrain allows for it.
Yeah, up here it definitely does. It's flattened out. I mean, there's a steady incline, but you're able to spread out and keep a sight line on each other pretty good. So
yeah, I figure it's something we don't even think about either. It's just, he falls back, or Howard falls back into his old ways, and
yeah, that's true.
Me and
Chuck
have that's kind of what we always do, so.
Yeah.
So Chuck, you're the first to catch sight of this trapper's lodge.
Okay.
You've seen it before, so, and same with you, Phil.
What time of day is it now?
So you're looking at, so first off, it's June 1920. So you're looking at around 5 o'clock. And so once that sun gets, where it's not coming directly through the tree and it's lower towards the ridge.
It gets dark real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's, I'll say, hey boys, this old trapper's lodge here would be a good place to camp for the night. Because it's going to be dark any second. No.
Yeah. Sounds like a plan. I don't think Howard could take a night out in these woods anymore.
So I'm just going to brush that one off.
So I'm going to, start gathering some dry
Okay.
wood, some dead wood.
Yeah, me too. I'll use my axe to cut some firewood.
All right, we'll say Phil's the first one into the lodge. You actually see indication that someone's been here recently. You see little tins of discarded meat and like jam preserves, and you also see some more bandages.
And this is a abandoned hunting lodge, or is it?
Right.
So, yeah, looks like they stayed the night here.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some indication that they might have slept here for at least a few hours before moving on.
They ought to be getting pretty haggard by now. I think we should be able to catch up with them probably sometime tomorrow.
Yeah. Wounded as they are, and especially if now, about how long ago would it have been?
So the shooting was last night,
Okay.
and they started to make off. But you know that once they made it into the woods, they just made it wherever they could hunker down and stay out of the deputies' field vision.
Right.
And then they traveled on, which means they had all of the morning. So when sunlight started, they probably have, 6, 7, 8 hours on you guys.
Okay. Well, they'll be slowed down by their wounds for sure, and dragging the girl.
Mm-hmm.
So we should be able to catch up to them, especially if they keep bleeding.
All right. So how do you guys want to do your nighttime routine? Let's figure who's doing the cooking.
Is there a cooking skill?
No. Since I didn't see that any of you guys noted it, the type of food you brought, you probably had jerky that you've made and
Cans of beans.
That there's also the tinned meats. That's pretty common these days because you can get different kind of meats than you can do by smoking them, and then you have canned preserves is a big one because it's high energy, lots of sugar, and then you guys have crackers, cheese. So,
Yeah.
but usually amongst men in this era, as far as I could tell, that camp duties were sorted out. Like you guys went and got firewood. So does that put Howard on?
Yeah.
I'll start opening up a can and warming up the beans. Was there a place nearby to grab some fresh water?
Yeah,
Is
there's
there a well or near the stream enough?
Yeah, there's little streams all around here, and Phil and Chuck happen to know that there's one that's maybe 50 yards from the Trapper's Lodge, just to the east.
Okay. Yeah, I'll see if I can grab a pot or something from inside that can hold more than just a canteen full of water and go fill it up.
And what about for sleeping arrangements overnight? How do you guys feel about doing that?
Oh, I'm not too worried about their, watch type things. I don't
Okay.
think.
Yeah, no. I mean, is there a door?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not.
Yeah.
All right, so Howard puts together a nice dinner for you guys, and
Dinner of beans and beans.
you guys bed down in your own little separate areas of the shack, and you go to sleep. So if I can get a power roll from everybody. This dice roller not being nice to you.
It's not being nice to anyone.
Ooh, nice. I got a success.
I don't know, I succeeded some earlier on that I had no business in succeeding.
Failure, and success.
It's because I'm powerful. What is power?
It is kind of like willpower, but it is
Okay.
also your magic attribute, and it seems to also be where your mental stability is derived from,
Okay.
because that's the stat that determines your starting sanity.
I'm going insane by the end of this.
All right, let's start with Phil. Okay, I'm going to share you a handout.
All right.
So yeah, you have a nightmare that night. Almost as soon as you go to sleep, it begins. You stand on the shore of a stagnant lake, and there's tons of lakes just like that up in this area. They're not really good for anything. They just sit there pooled for years and years and collect dead animals and dead vegetation. So this particular lake is the normal black stinking water that lies in those, while there's a pale moon that reflects off of its oily surface. There's a unhealthy yellow glow in the trees that surround you, and the thing that you notice about these trees is they're birch trees. which you know lie deeper in the forest. That's kind of usually the place that people mark where to stop traveling, because birch trees are the old growth and everything before it is new planting from logging through the years. And in this dream, the way they appear makes you uncomfortable because they have that white bark, but they have black patterns in them. And a lot of them are eye shaped, right? And you just get that weird sensation of being watched when you note that. And you just stand there for hours and you know that something is finally about to happen. And you see strange light pulsing from beneath that water. And then you see tendrils of what you can't tell slowly rise from the surface. They're writhing and twisting about in the cold night air. And at their ends, it appears that lids open and eyes, very much like these eyes that you see on the birch tree bark, blink, revealing an inhuman look that just seems to gaze into your soul. There's an array of metallic spikes that begin to thrust upwards from a huge body that these appendages are attached to. That seems to be, you could see that water welling up. It's kind of bulging as that surface tension is gliding over this huge mass. And those spikes, they polish like metal, or they glisten like polished metal in the moonlight. You feel, or you see those spines writhe and flex, and then some quick motion, and then you feel a sickening stab as something plunges into your chest, and that's when you wake up. So you can see you wake screaming, actually. So make a sanity roll for me. All right, so you just lose 1 point of sanity. So yeah, you did wake screaming while you're in the throes of that dream, but it almost immediately dissipates.
So is this like a full-on scream, or is this more like a...
Yeah, it's actually not a sound you've heard from yourself before. So it does wake you guys momentarily, both Chuck and Howard. You awake to a scream that sets your hackles.
Well, I'm going to figure that's what wakes me up the rest of the way, too, is because I don't know where the scream's coming
Right.
from.
Yeah.
And that's, so I wake up the rest of the way and realize it was me.
Yeah, there's some other indication, too, from having an uncomfortable dream. You're drenched and you just don't have that feeling of you were comfortable at all.
Oh, I'm figuring I'm also going to kind of set up real quick type of thing. And that my pipe, which I fell asleep with in my mouth, kind of falls out. And so ash is kind of going everywhere. And I'm going to try to kind of play it off as I don't know how. I'll just not mention anything, I guess.
Yeah, well, I'll jump up and grab my axe. What is it, Phil? Is it a bear? And I'll go see if I can look outside, right? Because I think it might be a bear out there.
Okay.
Right?
No, Chuck, it ain't bear. Just come on.
What are you screaming for?
I don't.
Scared hell out of me.
Sorry.
And I'll go back to bed.
Howard, what are you... you don't have to say anything, but what's Howard thinking?
That this is pretty out of character for my brother.
Like you'd know.
Go away.
I've only been gone
together.
I've only been gone for 4 years. It's not like I, left when I was 5.
Last time you saw me, I was 16.
Yeah, even then you had more brave than brains.
Brawn than brain. That's not true. I'm the agile one.
All right, Howard, when everybody settles back, you guys drift back to sleep.
Now it's my turn for a nightmare.
Yeah. So yeah, you guys sleep through the rest of the night and you wake up fine. Even Phil that has the nightmare. It's you, Howard, that woke up like you didn't get any sleep. But you don't quite remember precisely what it was you dreamed about. You just remember it being fitful. You woke up, you're bombarded by darkness and images you can't recall. Although there's one thing. You do remember that those trees, the leaves on them were a sickly yellow color. That's the only thing that sticks with you. Let me share that particular dream with you. So since you're since you wake up feeling exhausted, you're going to have a penalty die on any constitution roll that might come up until you sleep again. But other than the yellow leaves, you can't remember any other feeling except darkness and watching, maybe. Just kept waking you up over and over again.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to chalk it up to sleeping on the floor of an old hunting cabin.
So that morning, you guys get your kit packed up. Phil and Chuck, you both see it. Howard looks a little haggard. It's probably easy enough to rationalize that away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's rough sleeping.
Yeah. He just has not been doing that in a few years.
Well, I'll kind of be laughing like at Howard.
Yeah.
But we're trying to kind of rope Chuck into it. This isn't loud. This is like me talking with Chuck type of thing. But, kind of like, what was it? Like, I'm used to my soft feathered bed. My silk sheets.
Should have picked the bed up for Howard at the hardware store. That's okay, buddy. You'll get used to it.
So the trail picks up right from the Trapper's Lodge. It's not hard to find, and it's not long before it intersects with a trail that hikers and hunters and everybody uses. You guys are familiar with it. You've been up it. It's just an easy way to get more north into the forest, but it's not so frequently used that you're unable to pick up the signs of recent passage from time to time.
Okay.
And at this point, you're still getting infrequent blood on the ground. It's starting to dry up completely, though. So you're a few hours into it, and the trail breaks from the forest where this was an old place that was clear cut back in the 1850s or so, and so the trees are newer and they're much farther apart. So you got some good sight lines here. And as you're going along, I'll take a spot hidden ore track if that's higher from everybody.
Oh, come on.
Man, I am not good at this spot hidden thing.
Oh my god.
Oh, jeez. Dang it.
I'll pause for any potential pushing of the roll.
Yeah, I'm going to have to. It's on the freaking tracker, but I'm trying to think of how I guess we already figured that out, right? It's, I'll follow the wrong trail.
Yeah, go ahead and do it as the GM whisper.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'll go till I lose the trail, and then I'll just stop, double back, find it again, and so it's kind of me
right,
just going every which.
When I see him struggling a bit, I'm going to call out, "Do you need my help again?"
You always make up for it in the push roll, though, that I gave it away. But yeah. So it's the trail was actually not what was in question. What you're seeing is more blood all of a sudden, and as you
that what kind of threw me off?
Right. Yeah. And as you're glancing around, you realize that this new blood is actually a separate trail that's intersecting the path you guys are on. So it's running east-west or west-east as far as you can tell.
And our guys are going north or south to north.
Northeast, yeah. And you can see that this isn't from an animal because you're picking out in a patch of dirt here. You see a shoe print.
We got a second blood trail, guys.
Is it people?
Best I can tell, I'm seeing
looks like just one person.
Yeah, I'm seeing a set of boot prints. They're going east to west. Our boys are still going north.
Yeah, when you find that boot print, you can determine that he's traveling west.
Is it like a? Let's play some Sherlock Holmes here. Right. Is it like a mail boot? Is it larger?
Yeah. It has the cleats
of like a logger.
Of somebody who is prepared to be in the forest, I should say. Because it could just be a hiker or something that's wearing a shoe like that.
Okay.
But yeah, you can pick up the direction just because it's facing that way.
Yeah.
Well, didn't that fellow from Boston say he had friends out here too?
How bad are they bleeding?
Looks pretty bad.
That was a man and his son.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they
But-
had an accident.
Yeah, they might have run into the.
If they're as ignorant as their friends.
Well, whatever it is, they're bleeding pretty bad.
Well, if they're bleeding this bad, then I say we follow it and see what's what. They can't go far losing this much blood.
So if we go back on the track that they came from, was there blood already coming into that meeting spot?
Yeah, so this track that he's pointed out, you got blood on both sides of the trail.
Okay.
You guys were previously on. And you can track it both ways. You can track the direction it's going. You can track it back with Phil's track roll there.
All right, so you want me to keep following them?
Yeah, I think we ought to check out this new blood trail. I mean, somebody could be really hurt, and they could be pretty close by. We might be able to help them.
Yeah, with how much blood they lost here, they probably couldn't have gotten too much farther.
Okay, so you guys set off along this blood trail. And as you're going, you notice, more and more, even you non-trackers notice where the foliage has been disturbed, as though somebody was breaking through it in a hurry. You figure if a guy's just walking through the woods, he's going to walk around stuff, or if he has to, he's going to chop his way through it. But this looks like somebody pushed their body through it, and you catch more indications of blood on the branches and what have you.
So, like, he's running scared, or just running in general, or
Just running and wounded, because there's a lot of blood, more and more. In fact, the more you see, the more certain you are that this guy's going to bleed out or has bled out. And it's only a matter of time.
he sure was in a hurry. Yeah.
Some of it's even, it's not wet. So this did happen a little while ago, but it's still sticky and it'll still brush off on you if you touch it.
I think we might not be following a person anymore. I think we might have a body at the end of this trail.
Yeah, with this much blood, I tend to agree.
Chuck, you see, as you guys are fanning out looking at stuff, you see a knife on the ground.
Okay.
It's an old knife, old and rusty. Looks really familiar. Looks like the knife you pack around, in fact.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go inspect that. So rusty knife over here. Has it got any blood on it or anything?
Yeah.
Right. So this has fresh blood, but it's an old knife. Looks a lot like mine. I'll pull mine out to show him.
Yeah, it's you'd suggest it's, or you would think it's hours old, just by your experience with animals and stuff. So,
all right. So maybe we ought to pick up the pace a bit.
All right. So you guys, you press on, and the land starts to turn down, and you come through some brush, and you break into a little bowl where the trees are not growing in the center of it, and there you see a body lying on the ground. Let me share with you guys the handout. All right, check your journals. Did that put it in there?
Yeah, it also popped it up for me.
Okay. Yep. All right, so yeah, you see a fella, obviously a man, laying there wearing overalls and a shirt, and you can see he tried to hastily bandage a wound on his side, but he did not. He did a poor job of it, and he's obviously dead. You also see there's some paint on his overalls there. Different colored.
That guy from Boston said there was college kids out here painting, didn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, he said there were several.
Yeah. It was a class of college kids painting or something.
Yeah.
All right, let's get a sanity roll from everybody.
How bad did I? Oh, yeah.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Phil, let's see here. Phil, you just lose another point. You got a pretty good pool, though. It would take a lot of this before it really started unnerving you. And then Howard, you fumbled the sanity roll, so you take 3. You lose 3 points of sanity. And I'm actually going to say, let's see here, that when you glimpse this corpse, you actually cover your eyes like a child for a moment. It's an instinct,
Yeah.
Like you, or it was you that had the knife. That's right. I messed that up. When he showed you that old knife, it's the exact type of that you had.
The one that I had found
Right.
in my weird encounter.
And what you're kind of remembering is that was sort of your reaction to being afraid when you were a kid, is you would just sort of cover your eyes, and you did that, initially with that on that encounter before you tried to take off. So that's what you do. Chuck and Phil, you see Howard here gasp and literally cover his eyes for a moment before he snaps out of it.
But yeah, I'm going to say a small prayer to the Lord to take this man's soul. And
Well, if he starts praying, then I'll immediately bow my head and close my eyes.
Yeah, I'll take off my hat.
And I'll pat him on the shoulder because obviously he's upset seeing this. Now, I want to look. Is this a college kid like I thought?
The age range, yeah, that's definitely what you're getting from him. You're not able to fish any identification or anything out of the pockets, but
Okay.
yeah, and he doesn't have anything on him besides what he's wearing.
Right. But he definitely got stabbed in the side.
Yeah, you can actually make a first aid roll to confirm that that's what killed him. Go ahead and throw one out there, Chuck.
Nice.
Yeah. So there's nothing else. There was no other damage to him. It was just that stab wound, and he bled out. And when you touch him, he's soft to the touch.
So he's fresh.
No, actually, it's he'd either have to be really fresh, or because the rigor mortis goes away after the first day, I believe.
Oh, so hold. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, you think this was actually?
So if it's June,
And we're in.
I imagine there's like flies everywhere.
Yeah, they're starting to get on him.
Yeah, and it probably stinks really bad too, huh?
No, not quite. Not other than what.
normal crapping himself.
Yeah.
And
Well, the thing is most people, he's not carrying out like a barrel full of McDonald's around, right? He was out in the forest eating small amounts of food.
Okay.
But you can see that, he did wet himself and that sort of thing. So,
All right.
so you would estimate that it was sometime yesterday that this happened.
So did that knife that he found have the same inscription on it as the one that I found in my encounter when I was a kid?
Well, I'll let you see it. I still have it.
Where it has Green Mountain Boys etched into the blade.
Yeah. Yeah, you can actually make a history roll based off of that.
All right. But I'll ask if it's Phil, right?
No, I'm Chuck.
You're Chuck. I'm going to ask Chuck if he thinks this blade could have been the thing that killed him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
I
seems
do.
pretty clear.
Yeah, and I mean, it has blood on it, and we found it, and I think this poor guy intersected with Harris and his boys on the trail, and Harris done for him, and he ran off, and Harris couldn't give chase, so he just went on his way. That's what I think.
I don't know about that.
So historically in Vermont, there was a band of regulars, the first Vermont regulars that served on the Union side in the Civil War, and that they referred to themselves as the Green Mountain Boys. And local legend is there was a captain named Joseph Turner that actually had enough of the war after it was called the Battle of the Trails, and some 1,200 Vermont soldiers were killed, and he had enough of it, and he tried to run off to Canada, basically. But folks just say he went in this woods and never came out. All right, so I suppose that gives you a choice, Phil, being the lead tracker here, is you could either trace his trail back to wherever he was coming from, or you can return to where Harris's trail was going along that hunting trail.
Oh, man. I'm actually kind of torn on that. Like, because we got some potential college kids, city slickers. They ain't done nothing. They probably shouldn't be out in our woods, but the other way, we got, what's her name? Something Strong. Jane Strong, who's the daughter of the most hated man for us.
Mm-hmm.
But she ain't done nothing wrong, and her daddy's sins ain't on her. Yeah, so I'll kind of field that. Yeah,
Howard, what do you think?
That boy was bleeding before he ran across paths.
That's true.
Yes, sir, he was.
And
That's true.
knowing this blade, I don't really want to run across the thing that may have done this to him.
Well, what do you mean thing?
Well, I don't know if I ever told you this, but when I was a child, saw an old Union soldier standing by a tree trunk. When I closed my eyes, he disappeared, and all I found in his stead was a knife just like this.
You
Okay.
actually have that on that you can show.
Yeah,
them.
I'll pull out the blade and show that they're identical. I'll say an old history shop said this was part of a Civil War band, and ever since that day, something ain't sat right with me.
Yeah, something ain't sat with you for a while there.
Well, I don't know what to say, big brother.
Well, I guess if y'all are just going to sit around and...
Well, we do have this dead fellow here, and we've got to do something for him.
That's a good question. What do you guys want
There's
to do?
bears
with the
in
body?
these woods. And it's not right to just leave him.
It ain't right, but we
can't
prayed
carry
for
him
him.
with us.
It ain't right, but we prayed for him. And I think right now that we got some murderers that need justice is, I guess, what I'm going to figure we need to do.
Well, do we have any rope?
Let's get, since you asked it, I'll take your luck roll, Brandon. Or Chuck.
Shucks. I was going to string him up so the bears couldn't get to him, but he'll just have to keep. And I say we get back on the trail. At the very least, we've got to chase down Harris and his boys and rescue Jane. Maybe after that, we can talk the sheriff into paying us $25 a day to look into this boy's murder.
Yeah. All right, so I'll go back to where the trails crossed and start heading north.
North along Harris's trail.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pull out my map of the area and
You make a mark.
talk with Phil and try and find the roughest approximation of where we're at.
Do I got like some sort of writing instrument on me, like a pencil?
I'd have one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's got one too, yeah.
Yeah,
He's got a
so-
collection of them.
What? So, yeah, I'll try to figure out about where we are. And
Okay. Yeah, he unfurls his map and hands you a pencil and tells you to make your mark. And there you are. That's where you found the body. Number 4. Sorry about that.
yeah.
Okay, back on that hiking trail. You guys travel for a few more hours, and the woods here start to get a little older and a little drawn closer together with a lot of, ripe for a fire to come through and clean this up. Any day now, folks in Bennington expect the big one to happen because this wood back here is pretty old. You are all noticing, and this is about for those of you who are familiar with the area, that you just start seeing less animals. So if you're hunting, you just don't get nothing out here. And that's honestly the reason most folk don't go in here, because they're usually hunting and they just don't have any luck. Just bad luck for hunters. And you start seeing those birch trees start popping up, but they're not yellow-leaved. They're just regular old birch trees. But you do, along this path, you come across sort of an iconic red oak that's sort of warped in its growth, and it grows almost horizontal over the path. And you guys remember sitting on it, the three Jenkins bows just sitting up here on that horizontal growth. But you actually see some indication of, well, I'll get a spot hidden from everybody, or a track.
Oh, wow. I got a success finally on Spawn Hidden.
Don't forget to mark it.
Oh, I did.
All right, Phil, looks like you hit your track. So, well, the obvious thing is you see it look like your quarry took another small mill here. But off a little ways from that, this kind of gets your hackles up, Chuck, as you start seeing relatively fresh bear scat.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of a freak accident, although more common. I think it's the most common type of bear attack for a black bear to really mess with people. And it was probably because you were 10
Yeah.
and small. And the time of year had something to do with it. But, you just don't like them.
Mm-hmm.
Because that experience, here's the thing that you don't often tell people about that experience, is the sensation of this thing because what it was doing was starting with your face to eat, is that it was freakishly painless. And that's what kind of messed up your idea about violence.
Okay.
You know, it was otherworldly. You know, you're in existential terror and it doesn't even hurt. Your life is about to end and you don't feel anything besides just this dull nothing.
Right.
And that's what kind of colored your perception of things. But you also see a bunch of spent shell casings.
Okay. Come take a look at this. And I'll point out the fresh bear scat. And I'll say, now keep your noses open because black bears stink. And there's a bunch of spent shell casings over here too.
And you can see there 30-06 as what whoever was out here was firing.
Okay.
And there's really not a way for you to determine when it happened other than they're just close proximity where these guys took their meal. But here's where it gets strange, Phil, is you see that the paths diverge. Is that one of these guys went along the trail and then another guy broke off into the forest. You start seeing like the brush being hacked as he went off the path.
Well, looks like we got another choice to make. They split up.
Can you tell which way the girl went?
Yeah, have I been seeing her tracks at all?
No.
I haven't been seeing her tracks at all since we started. So,
All right. Well,
Now, was she at the transfer site that went wrong, or did they just not take her to?
She was
something we should
supposed to
ask.
be there. They just never got to the point where they saw her.
Okay.
I guess, yeah, you guys didn't ask that question specifically, and he didn't expand on it, but we can go retro and say you did pose that question, and they said they claimed to have her out in the forest, just out of sight.
now the sheriff thought another one of Harris's boys that got away with him was wounded.
Right.
And we've been following blood.
Yeah.
But nobody thought Harris was wounded, right?
No.
So do either of these two trails have blood? Because we'd want to follow the one that doesn't.
Well, the thing about the blood is it's stopped being what
Okay.
you're tracking
All right.
pretty much from the Trapper's Lodge on.
okay.
So you've just been tracking actual footprints or disturbances of the land.
Was there a way to determine, like, the boot prints of the one that was bleeding, or the shoe prints, or whatever?
Oh, if you're familiar with them? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of what allows you to know you're on the right path is you've picked out, there's a uniqueness to the pattern that you're used to looking at.
Well, could I use that? Like, the
Right.
one that had
Yeah.
been hit is gone off this way, and
Yeah, you know one of the prints that you've seen over and over again continued on down the hunting trail. And you just don't get a print in the immediate vicinity of whoever took off into the brush. You know, you got a sense that somebody sat at the trunk of this tree, like in a little hollow where they were leaned up against because there's discarded cans kind of set in a row on the thing. And then that's where that trail seems to take off into the brush. And then somebody was sitting on their haunches over by a rock, and there's a cigarette butt and a discarded tin and some cracker crumbs there. And that's the one that seems to be going along the hunting path. So somebody was more laying down, and the other person was sitting or kneeling, I guess, and they took off. So make of that what you will.
Well, so the one on the trail, that's going in the general direction of where the still is thought to be, right?
Yeah, well, it's in the way that Sheriff Jenkins pointed you up to get up to those reservoirs up north of Somerset. So that's all keeping the same direction.
Okay. So are we going to keep on that trail then?
yeah, I figure we stick to the trail. Going through these woods, underbrush will slow us down, something fierce.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, so you guys set up along the hunting trail, and here, let me mark where you found those bullet casings. About there. It's a good stretch from the artist's body, but it was fairly quick going since you were on trail the whole way.
Mm-hmm.
But you continue on that, and again, it's going quick. That trail starts to drop off the ridge, though, and sort of hatch back down the side of that ridge line, back along another stream.
Okay.
And after a while, it intersects with an old logging road. You know that this logging road comes out from Arlington, which is off to the west, and it cuts through this forest, although it's not often used, over to Wardsboro, off to the east. And you guys hear the rumble of an approaching engine, or truck engine, and the sound it makes as it's going over this bumpy log road. What do you guys want to do?
Well, just stand on the side of the road and wait and see who it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wave them down and see if they've seen anything.
So did I gain back a hit point for
The night's rest?
night's rest? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we'll probably tell whoever this is, about that kid's body, and maybe he can get the sheriff to send
Not a bad
someone
idea.
after it.
Also, not a bad idea to make sure he knows about,
What's going on out
yeah.
here. You know.
Anybody got navigation to a fairly high degree?
Yeah, mine's all the way up at 10.
Yeah, mine too.
All 10?
50.
50?
Yeah.
Yeah, throw it out there. You guys can all throw it out there. You never know.
I think I do.
Holy.
Oh, is that me?
That's Chuck, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know exactly what's going on here.
Yeah.
Make your mark.
All right, Chuck. So you know that this logging trail actually, because you knew some of what Mr. Lucas Strong's plans were for laying this reservoir. So you know that that actually lays off of this logging trail. It heads more northeast than the path you guys have been following. So if the purpose was to get to those reservoirs Sheriff Jenkins was talking about, it would be quicker to go this way, even though the tracks don't appear to go that way.
Right.
But you just know where it's set in the in your head.
Okay.
Let me pop that.
Yeah, so if those boys are trying to get to where Mr. Strong's setting up those reservoirs, this would be the quickest way to do it.
Oh, only one of them boys is heading that way now, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It appears as though he kept on a different path. He stayed on the hunting trail.
Yeah.
And this is, so when you come to this logging road, it actually comes down off that ridge, and there's a old, really shoddy looking wooden bridge just right over that stream. That's where you guys came across it. Mm-hmm. And you hear the sound of that engine approaching from the west. But anyhow, that sound resolves itself into another old pickup. And you see one man behind the wheel, and, he's kind of jostling down over these ruts and stuff. And you guys wave him down, and you hear those brakes squeal, and it comes to a shaky halt. And he pokes his head out the window, and he's like, "Working here. You guys got to get out of the way."
So, hello there, mister. Do you know what's going on around here?
Yeah, I got a whole load of work, a whole load of tools, and I got to get up to the dig site before boss man, starts counting the time.
Well, mister, there's murderers loose in the forest.
The murderers, you say?
Yeah, there was a shootout in Bennington. You hear about that?
No, we've been up here since last week.
Well, a bunch of Harris gang got killed by the police, and some of the police got wounded. And a man named Harris ran off into these woods with some of his fellows and kidnapped daughter of probably your boss.
Well, that don't matter to me.
All right. Well, have you seen anything?
Oh, can't say I have.
Well, you better keep your eyes open. We've already found one dead college kid.
So the quickest way is this trail? Is that what you're saying? To where Brandon thinks the still might be hidden?
This will go to the dig site. If the still's up in that area, it would get you to the area quicker. But then
we wouldn't know where the trail is. So
you wouldn't be on Harris's trail. You would have to range out to find the still if it's in that area.
So do they have phones?
Yeah, not
Sorta.
not up.
Or just radio?
Yeah, not up at the dig site or anybody out in the woods. There's no portable phone or anything like that.
Right.
And it's still fairly early on for running telephones.
Okay.
But yeah, he's like,
Is there shortwave or like radio or anything? Or
that's not. I'm not certain. I do know even by World War II, this type of terrain that you guys are in could really mess it up. You know, you just be on the other side of a hill from somebody. and that would be ineffective. But he doesn't. If you're trying to figure out if he has a radio or something, you could just ask him.
Yeah, well, I was going to tell him he's got to find a way to alert the authorities about that dead kid we found.
Well, I'll tell you.
You got a radio at your job site, or what is it? What did they call him?
Telegraph. Yeah, we can wire a message when I get up there. What is it you want to say?
Well, Howard will show you on the map where the kid is, and he's been stabbed. It's a murder.
Okay.
So they'll be interested in that.
All right. So yeah, he kind of looks at the map, but he is absolutely disinterested in everything that you guys say.
Man, I just told him someone was murdered. I'm about to rip him out of his truck.
You're a pacifist.
But I abhor violence, so I won't.
You won't violently rip him out of the truck.
Howard, we'll say that among those tools in the back, because Chuck goes around to the driver's side to start talking, and you two are standing over on the passenger side. You can see cases of dynamite in the back. You don't envy this guy's job to run dynamite along a bumpy
road.
But yeah, he does. The only thing that piques his interest is the fact that you guys are out there. So he says, so they just sent you guys out here to. What are you doing out here?
They sent a bunch of us. There's a whole posse rounded up.
Yeah, we're tracking them.
And they're all in these woods?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, for whatever reason, he's really interested in that.
Yeah. Well, anyway, thanks for your time, mister. Make sure to send a wire and keep your eye out.
Is he heading east or west?
So he's heading
north.
east. Well, actually, this is going
Kinda
north at
northeast.
this stretch. The logging road will ultimately end up east from here, but right now it's turning north.
All right.
All right. Well, so we'll get back on the trail then.
Yeah.
Yep. So he gives you a wave and it goes jostling down the road, and you see those crates.
Yeah. Yeah. That message ain't getting through.
This is how you did it in the 1920s. It was just a numbers game, you know.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Dynamite could go, it could not. You just keep
We'll
sending
hire
people
somebody
back
else.
and forth.
Yeah.
All right. So, your progress continues along that trail, which I said has been following this stream, and you have the land seems to be sloping down off to the right as you travel, and up on your left, which is to the west, you got a ridge line up there. So a little before you guys might start looking at setting up another campsite, I'm going to ask for a hard spot hidden roll.
How do I do that?
Up at the top of the skill page, there's regular, hard, extreme.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Close.
And you said hard
Yeah.
spot hidden.
All right. What is everybody's luck score?
25.
25.
49.
All right. Chuck, we'll have you do the honors. Just give me a regular luck roll. You're doing a group luck roll. Your bad luck is going to stand in for everybody here.
A regular one.
Yep. Close, but no cigar. All right. So you guys are traveling along this path unawares, and you hear a shot ring out, and this one goes over your head. So it's not quite buzzing, but it was real close. And it sounded like it came from up on the ridge up to the west-northwest.
Mm-hmm.
What do? Phil.
I'll, was it, we got a ridge. Is there any sort of like cover? Like, for like sight at the very least?
Yeah, there's plenty.
Yeah, I'll drop down and maybe try to hide.
Okay.
Well, like make it where I'm hiding visibly, but I'm going to shout out, that's awfully close there.
All right, Chuck.
I am going to hide and start moving up the ridge stealthily.
All right, make a stealth roll for me.
I want to spend luck on it.
Okay.
So what, I just changed the total?
Yeah, so what you're going to do is just lower your luck by 6, and we say you got it.
Okay.
All right, so you know generally where it was coming from, and you see a good hidden path up to that ridge line and you start moving your way up there, disappearing into the foliage. So let's go to Howard.
I'm going to, drop behind the nearest tree, try and take as much cover as I can, just from that ridgeline in general.
Okay.
Probably shout over to Phil, if this is that other city man and his boy out hunting, we're going to have to chase all city folk out of these forests.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was shouting out for. If it's not, I figure old Chuck here will get up real nice and close to them while they're looking at us or me.
And what did you shout out?
I said, that was awfully close there, friend.
All right, so there's another shot rings out. This is going to be at severe penalty. Well, it missed anyway, so it doesn't matter. So this one flies over your head, but you see the bullet impact nearby, and but there's no return call or anything like that. But I will allow you guys another spot hidden, except for Chuck, the ones who are sort of hunkered down looking up on that ridge. So Howard and Phil.
All
right, Phil, so you spot him up there.
Okay.
You know right where he's at. You see a shadow by a rock up on that ridge. Howard, you don't see anything. You just narrow it down to a smaller section of the... Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Let me give you guys a bonus. Go ahead and both do a bonus on that.
Just one?
Mm-hmm. So this moves...
I got worse.
So instead of erroneously knowing where he's at, you're not able to locate the shooter.
Yeah.
So,
well, I wasn't... The original goal isn't to shoot back anyway, so I'm not too worried about...
All right, Phil, that brings us back to you. He just shot at you again.
Harris, you're going to make someone awfully rich. You keep shooting like that, boy.
Chuck?
I'll continue on.
I'm also going to sort of move after I talk.
Sure.
Okay. Hiding. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead and put a stealth out there for me. Are you trying to move up the ridge or just get a...
different location.
Location?
I'm trying to move up the ridge.
Yeah, so you actually, whatever your movement rate is in a turn, you can move times 5 that in yards.
Nice.
Where is my movement?
It's in the combat tab.
So 40 yards I can move.
Yeah, so with... you get to a better location there just to see everything, and it's not where he was firing at before, and you're totally hidden. Okay, Phil. So yeah, you're up on the ridge line, and you know the gunfire was coming off to your right as you get up on that ridge line.
Okay.
By the end of your turn, Chuck.
I'm Chuck.
Sorry, Howard.
I'm going to stay hunkered down, but I'm going to start getting my rifle ready, trying to scan as best I can.
So let's get another spot from you with bonus and from you, Phil.
Is there a way of doing bonus before?
That's what I want, but unfortunately not.
So spot?
Yeah.
With bonus.
So that...
So Phil got you down to it's a 32 versus 31 with the bonus, it looks like.
No, Phil
had the...
Phil got he's 38 out of 40.
38 versus 40. Okay. Yeah, so you get it there. You actually see, because he's where this ridge starts wrapping around to the north, he's kind of facing to where you catch a glint. He's actually got a scope on the rifle he's using. You catch a glint on it.
Highfalutin.
That brings us to your action, Phil.
So, I don't know if I actually want to kill someone as Phil. I don't think Phil really wants to kill someone just for no reason. I mean, this guy is trying to kill him, and that would be enough to justify it, but I don't know. I think he's kind of on the fence about it.
Okay.
So I'm going to shoot to try to hunker him down and get him looking my way and not at where Chuck or Howard is.
All right, that's easy enough. All you got to do is take a shot in that direction. You don't even have to succeed at it.
Okay.
And I, as the keeper, just decide if he's going to, fall flat, which he does. So seeing that movement, you actually see he was perched up there, like kneeling down, looking out from behind a tree trunk, and he actually goes flat on his belly up on that flat part of the ridge. And that motion actually catches your eye,
Okay.
Chuck, which brings us to you. You can probably get to him and do something this round if you want to.
Yeah, so if he's laying down, what I'd like to do is come up behind him and like put my foot on his back and raise my axe and give him an opportunity to surrender.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So,
Like, I'm hoping that if he sees a giant dude with a giant axe raised, he might.
So all I want is to make sure you come up on him unawares. So let's get that stealth roll.
Okay.
You see a spot where you might be able to skirt around a little quieter, stay out of sight, but it takes you awful close to a sheer drop. You want to push your luck?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, roll it again.
Roll what? Stealth?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, it was a real spooky. And for those of you that could see, you actually, the roots of the tree that he skirted around, you can see the base of them coming out of the dirt on this ridge, and he kind of hugs himself around it. And you get up on this guy and put your foot on him, and you got your hatchet raised there.
No, this is the wood axe.
The wood axe,
The
right?
big one.
Oh, right. And
Otis.
yeah, he immediately drops the rifle. Looking at him, you can see his shoulders all shot up with shot, right? Like he took
like
that
from a shotgun,
blast from a fair distance, and it's poorly bandaged. And he looks pale and sweaty, and he splays his hands out, and he's like, "Oh God, don't kill me!
Why are you shooting at my brothers?
I thought you guys were after me. I
Well-
shot at you last night."
Wait, did anybody shoot at us last night? No?
No.
You didn't shoot at us? All right. So I'll reach down and grab the rifle,
Okay.
move it away.
So yeah, he has a Springfield similar to what the Hunters had. you
Okay.
know.
Yeah.
It has a scope on it, though.
Well, I'll shout down, I got him, fellas. Come on up.
So is this who one of the people we're after?
You think so? You don't recognize. Well,
Yeah, do I recognize him from when they were threatening me?
yeah, he's this kid who's young. He's probably 17. He was hanging back, but that doesn't mean he wasn't enjoying what was happening. He
Right,
was laughing and poking fun like anybody else.
And he seemed to have no problem shooting at us.
You think Clayton was his last name?
Okay. Yeah.
He's like, "Hey, man, you can't. You were watching me in the woods. What do you expect a man not to defend himself?"
Yeah. I expect a man not to shoot at me and my brothers, and I'll smack him upside the head.
He's like, "Oh." He's like, "I know I got one of you guys good. Which one of you shot?" "I'm sorry, you don't understand. Harris put us all up to this. I don't mean nobody harm, but if you're gonna come up on me at night and I shoot you, you got what you deserve. So which one of you shot?" He's looking around at you guys.
Telling you again, you didn't shoot at us.
Yeah. We just came upon your trail this morning. We ain't seen you guys at all yesterday.
He looked somewhat alarmed. He was kind of grasping at this notion that he was shooting at you guys. Like he was kind of willing it to be true is the sense you get from what he's saying. And the fact that you're denying it and it wasn't you makes him real shaky.
So who did you really shoot at, boy?
It was just a guy looking at me. I shot him right in the chest. It must have been 10, 15 yards away. And he just walked right back into the forest.
Well, maybe you're not as good a shot as you think.
No, I'm not. I don't even know how I got caught up in this. Harris, that son of a gun, he just left me by that tree. He just left me last night. We're supposed to be a family. That's what he always says. We're a family, and he just left me.
Well,
The old oak tree?
are you talking about the red oak?
Yeah, the one that goes over the path.
Yeah. So you stayed on the path?
No, I took off into the woods.
Okay. And he stayed on the path.
Yeah, I was trying to find my way at night. That guy I saw spooked me, but
Yeah.
I got stuck up here on this ridge, and I haven't moved. Seemed a safe place to see what was going on.
Well, who did for your shoulder?
Police
Oh, okay.
deputy.
Shootout, yeah.
Hey,
Well, they're going to hang you, boy.
no, I know we got some of them, but you got to know I wasn't doing the shooting. I was aiming over their heads. I didn't hurt nobody.
That don't play well with the law anyway.
No, you got to tell them. You got to tell them.
Well,
Out of my hands, boy.
maybe
You ran with the wrong people. You deal with the consequences.
Well, maybe he can afford your fee.
Phil?
Well, right now, Mr. Strong has a hankering for all y'all's heads, especially Harris.
Hey,
Perhaps you could maybe avoid the noose. You tell us where his daughter is and where Harris is.
Yeah, she's at the hideout. You got to know we didn't harm her. We weren't ever going to hurt her. We just wanted the money. And we wanted to know where Mr. Strong was keeping the gold he found.
What gold?
He's got the surveyors up at his dig site. They're supposed to have found some gold out there. That's what Harris said.
I think he's just building some reservoirs. Well, maybe he did find gold. Anyway, doesn't make it right to kidnap his daughter and shoot at the police.
Yeah, man, it just went wrong. You got to tell him. I was nice to Jane. I gave her food. You know, nobody touched her or nothing. She's at the hideout. It's just, well, it's late now, but you guys will make it there, you know, by noon tomorrow if you set out early.
Oh, you're coming with us, boy.
I can't. No, you don't. I shot a man.
You almost shot another man.
I thought you were
Shot it.
How many times do I got to tell you that?
Well, if you shot him, then what's there to worry about?
You just walked off.
Well, you know,
That makes me really worried.
people do weird things when they get shot.
So what do you guys want to do with him?
Right. So what is
We could get the location of where that still is and send him, take him up to the site, the dig site, and leave him with them
oh, right.
while we go try to see if Jane Strong is all right.
So, what kind of a roll would I need to make to see if I know that it's normal or not for loggers to be carrying tons of dynamite with them?
They're not loggers, though, right? They're
Yeah, they're
digging.
Yeah.
Well, that one guy, wasn't he a logger?
He was just using the logging trail that
okay.
ran through. It's older than this dig site that's going on that Mr. Strong has going.
Okay.
And for setting up a reservoir bed, blasting is involved
Yeah,
occasionally.
that's normal.
So sorry, Phil, you floated the idea of taking him to this dig site, dropping him off, and then coming back or getting the location of the hideout.
Oh, yeah. I think he told us just now, right?
Yeah,
yeah. So, drop him off at the dig site, and we tear off after the where the still is.
So from that navigation roll you had, was it you had it earlier? Mm-hmm. You know that the dig site, from the distance you traveled from where you met the truck to here, is straight west, or sorry, straight east.
east, yeah.
But anywhere you travel, dig site or the hideout, realistically, it's going to have to be tomorrow.
Right, because it's late.
Because the shootout happened right when you guys were about to call it.
Yeah.
Unless you want to push on through the night.
Well,
No, I don't have any
I don't.
light.
Yeah, neither do I.
So, I guess collect some
Yeah, let's
green wood and
find a
hunker
place
down.
to hunker down and decide what we're going to do with this kid. I just as soon throw him off the ridge, honestly.
Yeah.
And I'll say that out loud,
And he's like, "Oh, mister, don't throw me off
even
the
though
ridge."
it's not true.
Dude, but you don't got your heart in it.
Right.
Harris put us all up to it.
Did we have
You
rope?
made your choices.
Have mercy.
Or was that one of the many luck options?
Yeah, I didn't luck into any rope, so what can we
Well, there's some.
take his belt off and wrap his hands with it
Yeah.
or something?
Yeah, there's
Shoelaces.
his gun had a leather shoulder strap on it too that you could repurpose for bindings, that sort of stuff.
So,
What's your rifle skill?
just 25.
Yeah, mine too. You want his rifle? Because we're not giving it back to him.
Yeah, I've got my rifle, but his is a bit better.
You have a rifle? Okay.
Yeah, I bought one when we were in town.
And you have a rifle.
Yeah, I got a 30-06.
So I'm keeping his rifle.
Okay. Let me...
So where are we on the map now?
I'll put
'Cause
you...
Number 6 was where we met the truck, right?
Yeah. So let me actually mark that one. You guys are about here, where I put that black dot. Just near the county line.
I don't see a black dot.
Oh, sorry, I put it on the GM layer.
There we go.
All right.
And yeah, over to the east, before you come to those reservoirs north of Somerset. There's a marking, I believe, on your guys' for the county line, like a little dotted line.
Yeah.
It might even say county line for you, does it? Let me put that on there.
So, terrain-wise, would it be quicker to head to the dig site straight east, right? Or would it be quicker to hit like a trail and hit Somerset?
Assuming you don't get lost, it would be quicker to just head straight east.
Okay.
Yeah. And both you guys are fairly confident about woodland travel. The only thing that would be better about backtracking to the logging trails travel would be nice and easy.
Yeah.
Because they cut it in such a way that you don't take very steep, treks. They're all hatchback and stuff.
So does that logging trail lead to any kind of a town or someplace we could...
Eventually it goes to a town called Wardsboro, but it'll go right to the dig site. Chuck knows that because he was part of Mr. Strong's logging teams, and he knew about where they were going to lay down this reservoir bed before he got fired. And it's going to run right up to that area. But as far as finding camp for the night, you guys spot a pretty large spruce that you can actually crawl. If you want shelter, you can crawl into it, and it has a hollow in there that's going to fit all of you, no problem.
All right. I think we should probably keep fire going, and one of us should stay up.
Yeah.
At least one of us should stay up and keep an eye on the Harris boy.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so how's the watch going to be? You going to split it up, or one person going to take the hit?
I think we can split it, and we, no real set thing, just I'll hang out, smoke my pipe till I get tired, and then wake up Chuck.
Yeah. So just go fill me, and then Howard, if there's still nighttime left by the time I'm tired.
Yeah, I'm exhausted from not sleeping the night before, so...
We'll also figure from trekking in the woods probably get you too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so starting with Phil. All right, so you guys bed down, and you situate... You learn his full name is Eugene Clayton by then. You situate him somewhere where he's not going to be able to get out easy. Not without coming by the person on watch. And he's bound up, but he's shaking and sweating. And those of you who handled him, you know enough about things that he's got a fever. And those wounds, the shot hasn't been dug out or anything like that. And they're starting to get a little ripe smelling.
I guess, is this already in watch order, or is this before?
No, this can be when you're setting up. Because realistically, you guys have several hours before you get tired and go to sleep.
Well, I'll do first aid on him.
All right, go ahead and give it a roll.
Looking at the boy, I'll offer...
You get a bonus, too, from that first aid kit that Alistair left you.
I'll offer Chuck my rusty knife to dig the shot out while staring the boy down.
Well, if you're going to do that, I guess I'm not... but I was going to offer the moonshine.
Oh, to clean it out?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I'll do my first aid, and you say I get a bonus?
Yeah.
Okay. How many? Just one?
Just one.
Oh.
Ooh.
Did you get it?
No.
No. So you do what you can for him. It's going to take... You're just afraid to get in there and pick some of those up.
Yeah.
Some of them went fairly deep, and there's some arteries running up in the area because it's pretty much peppered this part
right
down to his elbow. So you swab some alcohol on it and put some fresh bandages on it. But, if he doesn't get help, which in the night he becomes kind of an annoyance, and we'll say that that's what you do, Howard, because he's like, you got to get me to a doctor. I'm not feeling very well. And you're like, well, you can try your luck digging those pellets out. That's what's going to have to happen. And you show him his knife. And he's just like, oh, Lord, you guys are hard. You are hard men. Just my luck to get caught up with 3 hard cases. It won't help a dude who's dying. I'm probably dying here. You got a pen and paper? I want to write my mom.
For my watch, I'll offer him some of the shine, though.
Yeah.
I'm also kind of hoping that if he's a little bit sloshed, that it'd make him escaping a bit harder.
Okay, that's a good idea. All right, so now let's proceed to the watch order. And starting with Phil. So you guys went into this tree at a thin spot, and you can kind of see out into the forest. So give me an extreme spot hidden.
Ooh, that almost might be doable there. Can you luck an extreme?
Yes. What do you need? 9 luck points?
I'm going to do it. So down to 40 now. And
okay. You succeed. So, well, first you get the impression, just that general human sixth sense impression of being watched. So that, excuse me, that puts you at high alert, and you really start scanning the woods out there. And, you know, your firelight makes all the terrain in the forest just play, you know, havoc with shadows, and you've been in the woods 1,000 times, and it's something you get used to, is just seeing shadows and not thinking too much of them, because they just start to materialize into anything. Yeah. Something about human psychology just starts picking up weird shapes. But what you begin to see is, you know, a roughly humanoid shape standing out there beyond the edge of the firelight. And, you know, at first you're just thinking this is just a play at shadows, but then you start to pick out the whites of a pair of eyes that seem to be not precisely glowing out there. It's just as you kind of focus in that spot, it could just be spots floating in your vision, except they hang close together like you would see on a person's face. And when you blink, it's like they'll disappear for a moment. And then the longer you look at that spot again, they'll start to coalesce into that solid shape of a pair of eyes and a humanoid shape out there.
Yeah.
What would you like to do?
I think, well, first off, like this starts happening, like I'll be offering Clayton, right? Was that his name?
Yeah.
The moonshine, and because his hands are bound, so I'll be kind of, you know, giving him sips of that. But at some point, that's when I get that feeling, and so I just kind of forget that it's to his lips.
Right.
And I'll, you know, just like kind of tense up and bring the gun up.
He's like, that's enough. That's enough.
And I'll pull the flask away, and then I'll start looking. Once I start seeing that, like,
yeah, he starts gabbing again. He's like, yeah, you the Jenkins boys. I know we sell to you. You guys drink our moonshine.
I'll hush him.
And he's like, what? What is it?
You got any of your friends out here in these woods? How close is they?
I don't think Harris would be out here. Like I said, you'll get there about noon tomorrow if you head straight north.
All right. I guess I'll go to the edge of the firelight and see if I can get some better, like, night vision. You know? So I'll hush him.
Yeah.
And I'll kind of get ready my gun and walk towards the edge of the firelight.
All right. So you're, you can't be sure, but when you move forward, you get a sense of those eyes that kind of disappear for a moment, but that humanoid shape is still there. And you see it walk between the space of 2 trees, and you actually hear motion, but then you can't see it anymore. What do you do?
Well, I think for the most part, like you said, like this is an eerie feeling, but this isn't that.
It's nothing unusual yet. It's something you've trained yourself. Well, here's one thing you do know is if it were, say, like a deer or something like that, you would have seen the firelight in its eyes.
Yeah.
You know, or some other animal. The way that their eyes pick up light is totally different.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I'm figuring that it might not be anything.
Right.
You know, that this could just be shadows playing tricks on me. You know, it's night. We're on edge. We've been shot at multiple times already. You know, I'm And I'm going to figure I'm chalking this all up to fatigue.
Okay.
You know, trying to look for something that ain't there.
Yeah, once it made that movement, you don't hear anything else and you don't see anything appear for the rest of your watch. And you wake up, sorry, who was next?
Me.
You wake up Chuck around midnight, and it's when this changeover happens that you guys all literally jump, and it wakes you up. And Eugene has the least amount of reaction to it because he's kind of sort of stuck in this feverish state. But you hear a large explosion. You don't see it, but you hear it off northeast.
Yeah.
Kind of. I guess, I don't know, 60 intelligence. Would I know anything about blasting?
Probably
that you don't do it at night.
Right.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you don't.
Yeah. I mean, that's just the reality of life is you don't do things at night.
Yeah.
They don't really have the ability to get lights like we do now, you know.
That fellow driving the dynamite must have crashed, I bet. I bet he crashed.
He should have reached the site
Yeah, he
long before dark time.
That's true.
Chuck, so Howard, yeah, this explosion woke you up, and you're kind of looking at them, looking out through the trees, trying to get a glimpse of anything like that. But you guys do notice off to the northeast, there's a low-hanging clouds become apparent because there's a soft blue glow illuminating from somewhere far distant, and that the clouds are catching the light.
Have you ever seen dynamite that glows blue?
No, I don't think I have.
So Chuck or Howard, you're hearing them talking about some sort of strange blue light out there. What do you do?
So I'll stand up and go see what they're looking at.
Yeah, so you see that this low hanging cloud cover is just reflecting blue light, and even as you're watching it, it begins to fade.
So would I know that certain natural gases that are high in sulfur glow or burn blue?
Do you have any science?
Yeah, we've got lots of. Where is it? Sciences. I've got biology.
Well, we can do
natural world. I've got 10.
So natural world, that is the more folksy understanding of the natural world, and you'd be able to glean like natural remedies from things out there. The habitats of wildlife, that sort of thing, based off of the folksy experience rather than academic study. So I will just allow, if you can make an extreme no roll, which is your education, EDU, then I will say you can glean something from your university education.
No.
Your education's 14.
No, that's extreme. My education's 70.
I got you. Okay.
So you can go with that idea that you're thinking about, is that blast must because you took science courses because you actually originally were going to be a doctor, but the Jenkins intellect wasn't strong enough, even though yours is fairly high, to make it there, nor did you have the money to do it. But yeah, we'll go with that. You've seen, they'll have their little beakers, their burners, and they'll burn different chemicals, and you get different lights based on, you just don't know what the chemical might be or the compound.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll say there are certain types of gases that hiding down in mines and stuff that will burn blue. Maybe when they were excavating, they ran across something.
Well, that still doesn't answer why they're blasting in the middle of the night.
Well, they may not have been blasting. They may have just been taking a lantern past a mine shaft and had it. Those gases escape.
I see what you're saying.
Either way, I think we'll probably find the camp in a bit of disarray tomorrow.
All right, make a listen roll.
Let's see, where are you?
No, that's extreme, but it still is a failure. I need to turn that off.
Apparently, I can listen well.
Oh, there you are.
All right, Howard and Chuck, you hear the sound of movement. Several people moving through the brush, maybe 50 yards out, and it's not long before you see a light come into view, like a lantern maybe.
Oh, okay.
And you hear people moving.
Do we have time to snuff our fire?
Yeah. So you start snuffing that out.
No, get away from the fire if you don't want to be in it, but don't you put that out.
All right.
Yeah, no, leave that alone. But I'll go grab my axe and get a little out of the firelight.
All right, so you guys take a moment to ready yourselves for the approach of something, and that lantern that's out bobbing in the darkness, it pauses as it seems that whoever's out there, you start making out 3 shapes. They're catching the light coming from this tree, and then you hear a hesitant, hello?
You guys are hiding?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Hello? Who is it?
Hey, this is Robert. I'm part of the search team for Eugene Harris.
All right. Yeah, same here. This is Phil.
Hey, you guys hear that explosion?
Yeah, sure did. Why don't you come on in the firelight?
All right, yeah. So they walk forward. So yeah, you can see when they're all real frightened looking. It's Robert. He introduces himself. He's the oldest and he has his 2 older boys with him. So he has a 14 and a 16-year-old boy. And there's Robert Sr. and then Lyle for the younger. Robert Jr. and then Lyle for the youngest of his 2 boys. And he's just like, oh, you guys are still at it. That explosion's the last straw for us. We're heading back. We don't care about night or nothing. That glow, you guys see that glow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we had some bad meat too. We're just not feeling well or anything like that. We're just going to move on if it's all the same to you.
Well,
You guys can make a psychology roll about that too.
I'm
not in charge of them.
I ain't gonna stop you, but we found fresh bear scat
Yeah.
not too far from here. You know,
And a young painter got stabbed nearby as well.
Yeah.
so it looks like the Harris gang's really tearing it up.
Oh, so close.
All the more reason. Yeah, we're just going to push on.
Well, could you do us a favor then and
Yep.
take that boy on into town with you?
He kind of looks past you and he's like, oh, that's one of them?
That's one of them.
Yeah,
He
he's taking
shot at us.
Yeah, he's taking pot shots at
He's
us.
probably going to lose his arm. It's starting to smell a bit ripe.
It'd be a big help.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it. You don't even have to worry about it.
And you boys good at taking care of wounds like that?
No, I'm afraid I don't know much beyond the next fella, but, by the look of him, he might make it a couple days. We'll get him back. We're actually not going to we're not heading back to Bennington. We're going to go to Arlington. That's a little bit closer to here. So we'll be there tomorrow. I think he'll be all right.
All right. You make sure he's okay to face justice.
Yeah. Oddly enough, Clayton is like, doesn't seem, you get the impression he doesn't want to go with these guys just because maybe it's because he knows you.
We're from the right town.
Right. Yeah. But he does. And they head off in their own direction, which is absolutely foolhardy.
In the middle of the night.
Yeah. But they're doing it. And they just got that one little lantern. And
What's that man's name? Robert what?
it was, sorry.
What would I try to use to try to convince him? Would it?
Depends on your tactic. Like, what do you want? Do you just want to try some good old boy charm, or do you want to tell them a scary story about what could happen to them?
Yeah, I'm not good at any of it, but
Well, I do have.
I guess I would try to kind of spook him. I mean, that bear is out there.
Yeah, that can fall under 2 types. That can be an argument, a persuasive argument about the real dangers, or if you play it up, it can be intimidate. So I'll allow you to choose whichever one is better for
Do
you.
charm.
Well, that's the problem. It's like intimidate's my better one,
So do intimidate.
But
Yeah, what's mine?
but I'm trying to not make it where I'm like trying to like
Yeah, I've got
I'm spooking him about the bear, but I'm not actually trying to like muscle him. Right. Okay. So yeah, but yeah, as they're kind of starting getting ready to head out, I'll be like, "Are you sure? You got them boys? That bear's out there."
Yeah, anything's got to be better.
I'll luck it.
Okay.
Could I try to persuade as well?
Well, if you want to hold off on spending your luck, you can see what Howard can pipe in there.
All right.
And that'll save you a little bit. You might still be able to do it. Go ahead, Howard.
Yeah, I'll try a different tactic. I'll say, we stay here together. We're a bit safer in a group. It's a whole lot better than you traipsing around out there in the woods.
Almost morning.
Yeah, so, you You
Nice.
have a bigger vocabulary than most folk, so just by sheer...
Just Oz them.
yeah,
They used all them $5 words.
that fella knows what he's talking about. He's like, yeah, you're right. I don't know. We was...
Puffed up, did my lawyer. Now you listen here.
Like I said, we just got some bad meat, and then all the explosions, and we heard gunfire the other night. We don't know what that was about. And earlier today, now that I think about it, which was you guys, but...
And last night, this fool says he shot at a shadow and swears it was a person.
But I suppose you're right. If you don't mind, we can just camp out here. You guys can keep your shelter or whatever. It doesn't look like it's going to dump too much on us if it does.
Yeah, no, you're welcome.
And yeah, you guys bed down. So let's get, or actually, we will skip that part. So starting with Phil. All right, I'm going to share another handout with you, Phil. So you have another dream that night when you have your period of sleep after midnight and everything gets settled down and you get everybody situated. And in that dream, you're in the forest surrounded by those birch trees again. There doesn't appear to be a body of water nearby, which you're thankful for at first. But yellow leaves, like in your previous dream, fall slowly from the thick roof of branches above. Blades of sunlight stab through the darkness here and there, and ahead of you stands a dilapidated log cabin. The door swings slowly open, and figures emerge. They advance slowly with purpose. You want to turn and run, but you can't take your eyes from them. Your muscles strain as your brain cries out for your limbs to work. You are powerless. The figures wear strange clothes. You hear the first one, a man's voice, as he comes closer. Come with us. Join us in his service. Embrace your new destiny and bask in his eternal glory. Its face is lifeless, pale and unblinking as it speaks. A dark green smear of corruption spreads down from an empty eye socket. It grins and its skin cracks. And this time when the dream wakes you, you don't scream out or anything, but go ahead and make a sanity roll for me.
All right.
All right. So you just lose 1 point. You don't utter a word, and make of it what you will. When reality coalesces around you and you're fully out of that dream state, you realize that what was odd about the strange clothes and those visions is, and it's just because Howard was talking about it yesterday, telling that story about Joseph Turner deserting the Union Army and fleeing into the Green Mountain Forests. That's what he was wearing. That's what all the figures were wearing, were Civil War uniforms, the Union Army. All right, Chuck. Let's see. All right, I'm going to share a handout with you, Chuck. All right, Chuck. So you had that middle watch there. So when you noticed when Phil woke up briefly, but it wasn't like the other night where you uttered a scream you've never heard from him or any man for that matter.
Right.
But he kind of shakes it off, goes back to sleep. But what you see is this forest extending all around you. There's a path that cuts and snakes its way between the trees, carpeted by freshly fallen yellowed leaves that have begun to dry and wither as if a sickness infests them. You're walking slowly down that path in silence. In fact, there's no noise out in the forest, no wind, nothing moving, everything is dead. And as you look down that path, it seems to, like the point you're fixed on, seems to be stretching further away from you, while the peripherals of your vision are warped, and they seem to be like sliding by really fast, even though where you're trying to go extends out further. There's a clearing up ahead, though, you know that much, and yellow light reflects off something, maybe water. There's a snap of twig behind you, and you turn to look. A sharp pain sinks into your chest as something plunges into you, and you wake with a gasp and splutter. All right.
So I didn't see what plunged into me?
No.
Okay.
Howard. Let me share this with you. All right, Howard, you should have that handout. So for all intents and purposes, your dream is actually the same exact dream that Phil had on the first night.
All right.
You're standing on a lake shore. There's an unhealthy yellow glow shining through the wooded tree line surrounding the lake. You feel a presence behind you that somehow is keeping you from retreating. And you've been standing there for hours knowing you're waiting for something. And then you get that sensation that whatever that something is finally at hand. And you see this strange light pulsing from the water. And what this light reminds you of is the light that was reflecting off those low-hanging clouds.
So the blue
at
light.
night, that blue light.
All right.
Anyhow, these tendrils rise, writhing and twisting. At the ends, lids open and blink, revealing inhuman eyes that seem to peer into your soul. An array of metallic spikes begin to thrust upwards as something huge rises to greet that night. And that's what you get is, you know it's there, but it's just ever on the urge of the surface tension breaking on the water. So you get it like bubbling out, but it doesn't fully reveal the form. And then those spines writhe and flex, and then you feel a sickening stab as something plunges into your chest. You wake screaming. So make your sanity roll, please.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what you lose. Oh,
Holy. Yeah. I'm going to be a gibbering mess by the time we get back. Already lost
So, yeah,
over a
deduct-
quarter.
8.
Yeah, it takes me down to 29.
Yeah.
That's
How do we, because that is something that happens, right? Where you'll kind of temporarily go insane.
Yeah, which is what happened.
Oh,
So, yeah, you wake up with that scream, which wakes everybody. I suppose in the order, this would have been during the second watch.
yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, you wake up and you're screaming and you get up out of your bedroll and you start to run for your opening in the trees because you're still fully in that dream and now you feel like you have the opportunity to get away and you run towards that opening, but you're going fast and you're not really looking and you just hit a low-hanging branch and you take another 3 points of damage.
Hit point damage?
Yeah.
could I have attempted to like grabbed him
Well, I
type of thing?
think he'd be on watch right now, right?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, so he woke up. The scream did wake you up. I would say a hard dex from Chuck to stop him from running out, and then extreme from you since you're coming out of the grog of sleep, and
Yeah.
particularly since it's only been like an hour or so since you've bed down.
So is that like brawling?
No, just dex to make
Oh,
sure you
just
get there.
So do hard decks. You
Hard and then extreme for Phil.
All right. Tried to save you from yourself there, Justin. We're sorry.
And I apparently ran that branch right into my bullet wound.
Yeah, so you split up that, it finally started scabbing up pretty good. But you split it open and you actually knock yourself out. And Chuck, you're probably first to him. That looks pretty nasty now. And he's not back asleep. He's knocked himself unconscious.
okay?
He just done lost all common sense when he moved to the city. I'll
Yeah, that's
I'll help Chuck drag him back.
yeah. Well, I'll look at Phil and see that he's awake, and I'll be like, he just woke up and started running, screaming top of his lungs. Scared me half to death.
I won't look at Chuck when he says that, but I think it'll kind of remind me of the dream.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is with you two waking up screaming like that. You scare the heck out of me.
Yeah.
I wish you'd both quit it.
Yeah. These dreams are pretty crazy out here. Let's get him back.
Did you have a bad dream too?
Yeah, I've been having them for a bit since we got out here. Ain't right.
It's like that Boston fella said about the dreams probably got into your heads. Anyway,
The other
Yeah.
Robert and his sons were woken up by the hustle, and they're kind of seeing what's going on. When they hear you guys talk about dreams, you can see.
I'm doing it real quiet. If Chuck ain't, that's one thing, but I'm
Yeah, no, I'm
embarrassed to admit it.
Okay.
I'm not talking quiet.
Yeah, he's like,
Well, you might pick up that it's not something that I am telegraphing because
Yeah.
I'm ashamed that
I
I'm
see.
kind of,
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
like I won't admit it if Howard's awake type of thing, but I
Yeah.
will admit it to you.
What what would come out loud would be where I would say that fella from Boston was talking about having bad dreams. Like I probably wouldn't keep that low, so they'd still probably hear that.
Dreams, I've been having dreams, me and my boys. And in the empty space of this tree, while Chuck and Phil Jenkins look over the unconscious figure of Howard Jenkins, our image fades to blackness, and that is where we will end for this session.
Thanks for game mastering, man.
Yeah, that was great.
This has been a Deathwatch production. Thank you for listening.